You are listening to Talk Time with Amelia Riley
and MJ Binns.
Hello and welcome to Talk Time. I'm Amelia Riley.
And I'm MJ Binns.
And today we are talking about education during COVID. So we will be talking about our own experiences, talking to a student from the University of Hertfordshire about his first year, and also talking to a head of operations from Leeds Trinity University about the restrictions put in place during the pandemic. I mean, when COVID first hit, it was like a big joke, wasn't it? No one believed it.
Yeah.
I remember finding out, I was at a friend's party, and I was talking to one of my friends, and she was like, oh, have you heard about coronavirus? I was like, what's that? She was like, oh, it's this like virus going around, but I doubt it'll even come to England. A week later, we had our first case.
Yeah.
And then we went into lockdown, like literally when we went into like the 3-week lockdown, everyone was like, oh, it's only 3 weeks, it'll be fine. In my head, I knew, I was like, no, this is going to last a lot longer.
Yeah.
I remember going to my teachers to like thank them for teaching me throughout college. And I went to my psychology teacher and she was like, oh, I'll see you in 3 weeks, it's fine. I was like, I don't think you will. Nah. And it was, oh, well, if not, I'll see you at the end of year prom. That never happened. We didn't even have an A-level like award ceremony like to get our grades. It was just we had to drive to the college, do it as like a drive-through, so you'd pick up your results and then just go. So
that's better than what I had.
What did you have?
Ours got emailed to us.
Great.
I was on holiday, so obviously like we had I found out about COVID whilst I was in college. I think I was sat in I was sat in one of my media lessons. We didn't really have a lot to do because we was just starting like final major projects, so we was all like discussing what we was going to do and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I had a notification on my phone pop up about COVID, and I was like, oh, has anyone just had this notification? It was from, I think it was BBC News or something. And I was like, oh, has anyone else had this? But they was like, oh yeah, it's not going to come here, it won't happen, blah, 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 and all of that. And then next thing you know, one of our teachers came in, like most of us were still going in until they shut the college. He's like, no, all of you should be at home. None of you should be in.
Oh my God.
Like, I don't even want to be here. So we was like, oh, right, okay, this is a teacher that never takes a sick day. And if he doesn't even want to be here, it's got to be bad. So then, obviously, the first lockdown happened, and we was like, what are we going to do? But then it lifted, and me and Connor went away. We done a boating trip. It was one of the best holidays we've done. And it was the day before we was coming back, and they sent out all of because we got our media grades the same day as A-levels got theirs, and it got emailed to us, and we was like on the Birmingham Canal, and we just had an email saying, yeah, this is your grade, and we was like, brilliant. And then a week later, English, like GCSE results got sent out, so I was like, brilliant, I passed my English finally. And then, yeah, it wasn't until August last year, this year, that me and Connor actually managed to get our certificates for last year.
That's insane.
It was insane.
With us, they had to do, it was GCSE and A-level at the same time through this drive-through. So you'd go up and it was, oh, are you A-level or GCSE? And it would be A-level. What's your name? And you'd have to say your name. And it was just, oh yeah, here's your results, bye. And you'd leave, and that was it. Like, you didn't get to see teachers or anything. It was just weird. But, I mean, there were a lot of fears around COVID overall. Like, I remember when we went into that 3-week lockdown, I cried for like 3 days. I was like, this is strange. I hate this. I just want to leave the house. I want to be able to see people.
Yeah.
But coming to university, that was that was interesting. It was right in the middle, wasn't it? So you had like 3 weeks on campus. We had 3 weeks on campus.
Yeah.
Face masks, restrictions, social
One-way
distancing,
systems.
one-way systems. And then all of a sudden it was, no, we have to go online.
Yeah, but I think they planned that anyway.
Yeah.
But then in a way it was nice because you got that. I don't know if it was the same for like other unis, but us, like, we had all the days that we was on campus, we had all our practical lessons. So it was quite nice, but we still had that practical element. And then the theory stuff was all online, which you do all theory stuff online anyway. So it wasn't... the only difference was you wasn't leaving your room and going into a classroom.
Yeah. To be fair, I think it's really good that we had like those first 3 weeks on campus.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it also gave us a chance to make friends.
Yeah.
Like, we probably wouldn't have become friends if we didn't get to meet in person.
No.
But I know a lot of universities did just straight away do it online.
Yeah.
It was just constantly online the full year. But I moved home after those 3 weeks. It was like, oh, we're starting to have cases on campus, and my mum was like, right, get home.
Yeah.
She was like, you don't want to be stuck there if the uni has to go into lockdown. Because a lot of unis didn't they? A lot of unis had so many cases, the whole university just locked down.
Manchester.
Yeah.
Glasgow.
I'd have hated to be in that situation
I know.
as one of those students. Like, imagine you don't even have it, but you're locked down at your university because other people do.
Well, there was talks of Glasgow Uni, Edinburgh, Manchester and Liverpool. There was talks of them not being allowed to go home at Christmas.
I know.
Because they were so locked down. It was like pretty much
That was a scary thing,
I think
wasn't
at
it?
one point every single student at all of them unis had COVID.
Oh my God.
Like, they did not have a break whatsoever.
No.
Like, one person got it and then another and then another. It was just so continuous. But there was talks of them not being able to go home.
Yeah.
And then obviously the November lockdown happened and I was like, right, I'm not staying here.
Home. To be fair, it was online anyway, so you could go home. But it was scary when they were like, oh yeah, we might have to make students stay at university over Christmas.
That's the whole reason why I went home. I was like, if I don't go home now and they're saying that they might not let us home, I'm going to be stuck up here. I've literally got...
And so far away from home as well. But I mean, even just general restrictions over Christmas was scary because it was like, you can't see any of your family members. You have to stay with your household. I don't know about other families, but for us, it was always, we'd have grandparents round, we'd have uncles, we'd have cousins, we'd have aunties. It was literally the whole family round at Christmas. And that Christmas was so strange because it was just us. It was like just us four, like me, my mum, my dad, and my sister. And it was like the weirdest thing ever because usually we have drinks with our family, we have a meal, we all open presents, we all like play with our presents,
like the traditional like family Christmas.
Yeah, and all we did was sit and watch films, have a meal, and then sit and watch more films.
Yeah.
Because it was just us four, there wasn't really much to do.
Yeah.
It was still nice because at least we got to spend a Christmas all of us together rather than me being stuck at university or...
Yeah.
But it was just weird.
Yeah. I don't know what it was like up here. But back home, that's when they brought in like the tier 4 in a 3-tier system, and everyone was like, "Why are you bringing a tier 4 in a 3-tier system?"
Everyone was like, "What is this?"
Yeah. So basically, everything in Essex was, if you was the outskirts of Essex, you was fine. You was like, yeah, you're like tier 2, maybe tier 3, depending on whereabouts on the outskirts of Essex you are. But if you're central Essex, like I am, there was like, yeah, you are tier 4, you are fully locked down. You leave your house, you could get arrested.
Oh my God.
You leave your house more than once a day and you don't have a legit reason why, you could get arrested. So many people down my road got arrested because they left more than once a day and they didn't have a legit reason.
Not even like, they weren't even allowed to go for a walk.
You could go for one walk a day.
To be fair, that was the same with us, but you could go with someone. So if you had someone in your bubble, so like I would go for walks with my boyfriend because we were allowed to. And to be fair, we lived like a 10-minute walk from each other, so it was easy. But whenever we'd see like a police car drive by, we'd be like, oh no, have we been caught? But it was just a general police car driving. To be fair, I don't even think they cared in my village. It was like you'd see a police car and they'd just drive past you. They wouldn't even question it.
Even now, police back home are still like, why are you out? Why are you in such a
Really?
group? Yeah, because obviously now with Southend going into a city and cases are rising there. I've noticed it a lot. It's one of them, people are still catching it, but...
This is the thing, you've got to start living at some point. You've got to return back to normal. I mean...
And the thing is, a lot of people are saying, oh my God, I've got COVID, but then they're forgetting it's flu and cold season.
Yeah, everyone's getting ill now and they think it's COVID, but it's not.
Yeah.
But, I mean, being online throughout university, throughout the first year, that was, like, quite isolating. Even though we weren't isolating, it was.
Yeah.
Because it just felt like an extended summer. And then you had the one-off online lecture.
I think what did it for me was I like having that separation. So I like being able to do my lessons, do all my work, and then come back and relax.
Yeah.
I didn't have that separation. It was You do your lessons, do all your work, but you're still in the same room.
Yeah. And you're not as productive if you're just at home.
No,
if you know what I mean.
Exactly.
But it's so much better being on campus this year, like even just living on campus.
Yeah.
It's like you kind of have that variation of, oh, you're in a lesson in a classroom and then you go home to a flat filled with people from different courses. You get to kind of talk to them and then, oh, well, you can go home to your family, and you have so many different people you're interacting with now that it's not as isolating as it was first year. And I think it's just been so much better finally being on campus. And we don't have as many restrictions. It's weird being on campus without face masks and a one-way system and all that.
Yeah.
But I think at the same time, you have to get back to normal at some point. You have to just deal with it at some point, because it will always be around. COVID will always be around now.
Yeah.
It will just be part of cold and flu season now. But I mean, I know that Newcastle University was completely online first year. I mean, they didn't even get to have a couple of weeks on campus like we did. They just was online from the start. And even like open days, peer mentor meetings, course rep meetings, they all had to be virtual. And it must have been strange for people just applying to universities to have to do an open day online rather than getting to explore the campus like we did.
Yeah, I know. I know that quite a lot of people deferred a year because of it, but the University of Hertfordshire did blended lectures, and they're still doing blended now. Like some courses are purely just online. They're not even doing blended. They're just online. But they've not actually been able to use most of the equipment until like now. So they've had so many modules cut from them because they can't use any of it because of restrictions and stuff like that.
Yeah. I believe the Newcastle is doing blended now. So they have like seminars and some lectures on campus, but a lot of the lectures are pre-recorded, so they're like prep work. But now MJ will be talking to a second-year student from the University of Hertfordshire.
Yes, I am joined by Sam to discuss how he found uni during the pandemic. So Sam, how did you find your first year of university, going into it with a pandemic going on?
Mine was a lot of ups and downs. I'm a creative arts student, so I was lucky to be one of the only people to have in-person when September started through to December. And then once the stages of lockdown got put in by the government in December, obviously I had no in-persons then until April. But again, being a creative arts student coming back, we were one of the first to be allowed back in April. So it was a lot of ups and downs with being in person, not being in person.
How do you think your uni handled the pandemic?
The uni as a whole, I feel, was okay. It all came down to really what students decided to do and how students decided to handle it. The uni had their parameters in place, and the schools of learning kept those parameters in place, but it was up to the students whether we followed them outside of the classroom.
What was the support like throughout your first year?
Not the best. Mental health support was the worst I found at the university, up to 5 months for a callback for a mental health referral, which I'm still waiting on. So support wasn't the best within the university.
That doesn't sound like the best support.
No.
Has your views on going to university changed after obviously doing your first year during a pandemic?
Going to university, no. The way I'm approaching university, yes. I originally didn't want to do a placement year or a year abroad. I now want to, but it's now making me, in a way, want to do 2 postgraduate courses.
So in a way it's changed your views, but in a positive way instead of negatively?
Yeah.
Obviously, when you started uni, it was last September, so we'd already gone through one lockdown. For the restrictions that you knew about, do you think they were put in at the right time or too late?
In a sense, too late. However, I always felt that the first lockdown was let up too early.
And as always, we always finish our interviews with a fun question. So If you could be one character from Grey's Anatomy, who would you be and why?
Oh, Callie Torres.
Why Callie?
Because she's a superstar with a scalpel.
Love that answer. Brilliant. Thanks for the interview, Sam.
No worries.
I think that's really interesting that his kind of decision to be at university hasn't really changed.
I like the fact that it's changed in a more positive way than it has in a negative way. Because for some people, not being able to like do as much like freshers and like access different equipment and different areas of the university, that could like affect them in a really bad way, and they'll be like, oh, I don't want to do this, it just feels like school. So the fact that he's thought of it in like a positive way is quite good, because a lot of people took this as like a very negative thing as well.
But I also think the fact he said that they didn't have any support, and I think especially throughout COVID you needed support because it did affect so many people's mental health, because it was just isolating.
Yeah, well, it's like he's been waiting 5 months for mental health support, and he's still waiting now.
Yeah, and especially going to a university, your first year, it's terrifying because you don't know anyone and it's completely new. It's already terrifying, and then you have to have COVID on top of it. It's just, I think they should have definitely had more support.
But it's not just students it's affected staff as well, and I think the staff have probably suffered just as much as students with some of the unknown of what's going to happen, like whether or not they're still going to have a job, whether they're like going to be able to teach and all that. So now Amelia will be talking to the head of operations at Leeds Trinity.
Yes, so I'm joined by Dave Betts. What was your first reaction when COVID hit?
The university as a whole, obviously, we knew COVID was coming. It was spreading across the world, spreading across this country. We didn't know exactly how quickly it would hit us. We didn't know what exactly the government would say, so we were waiting quite a bit of time to get some information from the government about what was going to happen, because we always had the watchword that we want to provide as much teaching on campus as we possibly can. We don't want to be closing down. We're at a university. We want to educate students.
Yeah, it must have been quite worrying. But how did you kind of deal with it? What restrictions did you have to put in place?
Well, we had to follow, so throughout we follow the government restrictions. So we actually brought in some health and safety consultants, some specialists to assess every single room in the university and to say, under the government's restrictions, how many people could use each room. So then we could work out the effect on timetabling and that sort of thing. We had 2 metre social distancing, we had one-way systems in the corridors. But of course this was all, you know, the initial lockdown was everyone go home. There was none of this, it was just go home. But just remember, in amongst all that, I say everyone go home. Some students couldn't go home, some students live on campus. They literally, that is their home. So we had to carry on providing, and we wanted to carry on providing services for those students who live on campus. It is their home.
Yeah. How do you think your strategy worked? Do you think it worked well, or...?
Depends how you measure it. Throughout, we've been guided by the government regulations. So we've had to follow those. If anything, I feel we've had more students on campus, or a higher proportion of students on campus, than many other universities. Some universities have just gone to all online or more online than we have. We've continually tried to have as many students on campus as we can within the rules. So we've followed the rules really, whilst at the same time having to look after the health and safety of our staff and our students.
Yeah, and now the restrictions are lifting, how has your strategy changed? Have things become more relaxed on campus?
Yes, and of course one of our big issues is, so the room restrictions I just described, they've gone. All our rooms are at normal capacity. We don't have the one-way system anymore. But an issue for us, or a challenge for us, is that the government's law, the government's rules around masks, which they don't really have any, it's just do what you want, which is provided a challenge for us, because we can't tell people you must wear a mask, because we can't. So, you know, some students, some staff, some colleagues have not been wearing masks, which then has a knock-on the other colleagues. But there's not a lot we can do about that, because we actually, literally, we cannot say to a student, you're not wearing a mask, leave the room. We can't. They're paying for a service unless the law was to change.
And I think especially if some students are still worried and like to wear face masks, it can be worrying for them to see students or staff without a face mask as
and
well.
Staff, yes, yes, of course. And you might think that the government should perhaps have done more to enforce this, but we cannot. I mean, you know, we don't want to, or whatever. We can't enforce face masks. And also, you have to recognise that students, even if we were able to force every single student to wear a mask, I'm not sure we'd want to, but if we were able to, do we really think that in the 20 hours a day or whatever that they're not on campus, that they're all wearing masks? Of course not.
Yeah.
But of course, in my life outside work, I go to Sainsbury's every week. Most people aren't wearing masks. Get on the train to come to work, people aren't wearing masks. Not saying that's right, but we have to accept that in society as a whole, not that many people are wearing masks. So it's a little bit hard for us as an institution to say, you're not wearing masks, anything else you do, but you've got to wear them here all the time. We try and we push it, but some people don't wear masks.
Yeah, and obviously the one-way system has been taken away now.
Yes, because that's not required. We don't have 2 metre enforced legal 2 metre distancing anymore.
Yeah, it was weird coming back on campus for us because we used to getting to our lessons through the one-way system. So we were trying to go around it through the one-way system. We realised, wait, there's a quicker way to go to our class.
You can go the right way now.
Yeah. And as always, we have a fun question to finish off our interviews. So if you could have a superpower, what would you choose?
To do with COVID or just generally?
Just generally.
Oh, I'd like to be able to fly.
Why?
It'd be great just to be able to swoop over and see what's happening.
Yeah.
And people not see you. Well, I'm a journalist at heart, so I was a journalist for 20 odd years. So being able to swoop in and see what people are doing and observe would be great.
Thank you. So that's the end of the interview. Thank you for joining us and answering our questions.
Okay.
I think our university definitely dealt with it really well. I think
100%.
A lot better than other universities. I mean, the fact that we were on campus for a few weeks before going online is so good because we got to interact with the equipment, we got to kind of do practicality and also make friends, meet new people and kind of settle into the uni, get comfortable here so that when we came back for our second year, it was easy. It was just comfortable.
I feel like as well, the fact that we was able to mix and see people for at least 3 weeks helped a lot trying to settle in as well, because we all knew coming to uni it was gonna during a global pandemic it was gonna be hard. We was gonna have issues coming to uni.
I have really enjoyed second year a lot more.
Yeah.
And we've not even been here that long. It's been a month. And it's just so much better than first year because restrictions have lifted and lectures are all on campus. And I mean, we're living together, which is great.
Yeah.
And it's just so much fun, living with other people as well.
Yeah.
And especially if it's people you know. I think that was the issue with first year as well. It was, you can't choose who you live with because you don't know anyone. So you're put in a flat with people you don't know in the middle of a pandemic. And if you don't get along with those people, you can't then go out with course friends because clubs are closed, pubs are closed. What can you do? There's a constant fear that it will get worse again.
And the fact that there's talks of masks and restrictions coming back is another added fear as well.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's just a constant fear.
It's just a constant
anxiety.
But we're all hopeful that things will get better from here.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it probably will because we've all been vaccinated.
Yeah.
Well, the majority of people have been vaccinated.
Walk-in centre and get your booster. That is it for today's podcast episode. So thank you for listening. Let us know what your thoughts and experiences on education during the pandemic has been, and we will see you next time.
You have been listening to Talk Time with Amelia Riley
and MJ Binns.
Tune in next time
for more.